This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
This is Everything Elite, the world's best podcast, devoted exclusively to all elite wrestling and the elite extended universe. I'm really trying out different volumes, different emphases there, just to get everything going and really challenge Mike's ability to make that sound reasonably good. But hey, everybody, it's AB. I'm here, one of the hosts of this show. I think I've gotten fucked up on going back and forth between you guys, so I'm going with Mike again. Mike is here with us. How are you, Mike?
Hey, y'all, it's your old pal, Iron Mike Spears. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to fix that in post. No way. But, I'm here. My hearing's going back to normal right now, and I'm okay. How are you, AB?
Man, I'm making it. Nate has also joined us, as always, a.k.a. Epitasis. How are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing good. Hi, fellas. Hello, listeners. Glad you're making it, Aaron. That's all we can do is keep striving till we make it, of course. You recently called me moody on a podcast, I think. I don't remember if that was a Patreon episode.
Oh, no.
But I'm in a mood. This was a good episode of Dynamite, but then I just long day of work. So I'm in a weird mood. I think maybe I'd characterize it as an FTW mood, where I've just had it. Weird energy today.
I really thought, Nate, that only Mike and I remembered things that people said on podcasts and thought about them a week later.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
It's just a reference it's just a reference to Mike and my insecurities and anxieties, I think.
Yeah, real anxiety hours.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
No.
But no, I wouldn't. No? I wouldn't. It's less that I take it and internalize it as anxiety causing, and more like outward anger causing, I would say. So hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that doesn't affect your performance at all.
No, I mean I will definitely internalize it and think about it forever, basically. So that's going to be the show. Today is mainly going to be me dealing with my internalized anxieties. I hope everybody's ready to do that. It's going to be a roller coaster, I would say. Here's what we're going to... Oh, no, I don't say that part yet. Let me tell you other things first. If you want to read more about all of our anxieties, you can find us at Everything AEW. My specific anxieties are at Aaron Like the Car. Nate's are at Epitasis. And Mike's are at Fuji Heya. So go check those out. Subscribe to this podcast. Please give us a rating and review if you're using the Apple Podcast app. And if you want to support the show, please check out patreon.com/everythingelite. Here's what we're going to talk about on the show. This is the part of the show where I say that. We're going to review Fyter Fest Night 2. We're going to preview Fight for the Fallen. We'll talk about ratings. I think that's it. I think that's everything that's going to be discussed on this show. So let's get right to it. As is customary, we start with a little game we like to call Elite or Delete.
Delete! Elite! Delete! Elite! Delete! Elite! Elite! Delete! Elite! Delete! Stop!
Nate, buddy, I hope that you're not angry about whatever your favorite thing on the show was.
I'm already tired. I'm tired of the bit now. Just took one segment. Elite segment. All the wrestling on the show is really good. So I'm going to pick the match that was not shouted out here on our document. Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. Thought this really delivered. I don't know what it was, if it was that this was a pre-taped show and they had time to go in and sweeten the crowd or something, or if they figured out the miking better from night one and they had some mics up by all the normie people they had in the upper decks or whatever. But something about this match and this presentation really made it come across like a real hot major match that mattered in some way. And it just had like a major league feel, a main event feel is what I want to say. It felt like an actual main event to a big show, which of course is what we're all chasing at all times. It's like one of those matches that just you're with it and you feel it and you hang on every back and forth. And there was like a small hiccup at the beginning where they had to edit around Jericho doing something, throwing a weird clothesline. And from there, it was all like just basically, oh my God, basically awesome. I have a plastic thing in my mouth that the listeners can't see because this is an audio medium, but I choked on it for a second there.
As for me, this is a visual medium. I was wondering what it was for a second. I thought it was a piece of pasta.
No, it's like
it's like a straw.
No, it's like a bindy thing you would do to bind a bag.
Oh, a tie.
Yeah, like a tie. I call it a bindy thing.
A bindy thing. Yeah, no, that works just as well. No, this was a match that I am, as someone who has transcended Twitter and has transcended hype.
Oh, this is news. I want to talk about this. Mike has transcended Twitter, Aaron.
Yeah, no, and this match was my example of transcending it.
Is this news? Wait, did he announce this?
He just announced it. Did you know this already?
I did not know it.
I've still seen him on Twitter.
Oh no, I'm still on there, but I'm operating from a higher consciousness. And
I see.
And when everyone was saying, like, when Chris Jericho was like, that's the best match of my career, and everyone was doing the usual thing they do when they pre-tape something and they set impossible expectations and they fail to achieve it, because whenever they do that, if you believe them now, then you're the frog and they're the scorpion. But I enjoyed this a whole lot. I thought that I was real ready to get real mad about the finish, but I feel like that when they had all the run-ins and the orange juice spot, they could have really lost me there. But I thought like that they then decided to use their overrun, their 1 minute of overrun for the first time in Dynamite history, to continue and go to what I felt like was a pretty satisfying finish, where it felt like that Jericho just really caught like a desperation Judas effect right as like Orange Cassidy was going for his full shot. So I think that this was a match that succeeded against the expectations that put forward to it. Of course, me having now transcended Twitter, I had no expectations. So I was doing pretty good about it. But yeah, no, my only pushback on this being an elite is Orange Cassidy's theme sucks. It's not it's no Jefferson Starship, and it's no whack, wicka, whack, wicka, whack, best friends, which is what I think he should come out to most of the time. So that's my only negative about this match, was Orange Cassidy's theme seems like it's kind of half-baked, needs to go back in the oven for a bit.
I just want to mention this. I think my fight feed crashed early in the show and then was ahead of everybody else's feed by like a full 2 minutes or something. I think the TNT feed and whatever else, the YouTube feed, for whatever reason, was just running behind, and that's why they had an overrun, because my show ended like right at 9 p.m. and it seemed like everybody else's went after, and that was such an unusual thing that you wouldn't expect to happen, but it seemed to happen.
I totally get how you could perceive that. It is in the rating document of record at Showbuzz Daily, a show that was 121 minutes, though. So there was one.
That's weird.
Hey. But no, I mean, like, my feed was weird all night, too. So I understand that.
Yeah, this show had an overrun, baby.
Yeah, 1 minute. What was your thoughts on this match? Do you think this match was elite?
It was good. I liked it. Are those the kind of takes we're supposed to bring to this show?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, thought it was good. You guys covered all the things I thought about it, so no reason to belabor it. Mike, what was your elite pick of the show?
You know, as the podcast's lover of spots and moves that look dumb and sprints, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk instead about Joey Janela versus Lance Archer, which is this really kind of old school feeling match, but worked really well, where Lance Archer was most in control of this match, but Joey had some great shine and heat segments. Getting into it, they were able to kind of play off it pretty well. I mean, you had Sonny being involved as well. You had a little bit of Jake Roberts, but not in a distracting way that Jake Roberts can be at time. And you had a real sick finish of doing the blackout off the apron through the table, and then doing the everybody dies claw like into the table, and then dragging him to the ring for the pin. And I thought that it kind of, for someone like Joey that has been very up and down in this promotion, I felt like that Joey Janela came out and came off like just kind of this guy who was trying to persevere against the giant monster. And I feel like that this, for Lance Archer having had taken a step back after losing the TNT title tournament, this was a strong win for him, and it's something that makes me really interested to see him, because Lance Archer, like, not to go total Joe Lanza here, but Lance Archer is an incredible big man worker, and I feel like that this was a really surprising match, and like the match on the show that probably was coming into it with the least expectations, and it blew away whatever expectation I had, and I ended up being like my second favorite match on the show. Like, this match just outright rolled, and I feel like that this was a real effective use of time, and I feel like everyone came out of this looking really good, and I'm excited to see where all the sides continue from here.
Yeah, this was a good match. I really liked, and this match was a part of that, the like diversity of matches that we got on this show, because we got like a pretty dominant win by Archer here, but Joey was competitive enough that he's somewhat protected as a member of the roster. We got a fun handicap squash match. We got 4-man tags. We got 6-man tags. We got a 1-on-1 main event, and I just really liked all the different kinds of matches, that it's not just straight ahead 1-on-1 matches and tag matches and dreaded triangle tag matches up and down the card. I really like just having a 4-on-4 tag match in there to switch things up, and this is part of that whole formula.
Yes, I also thought that this match was good. My elite pick of the week, I'm going to keep it simple. It wasn't actually on the show, but it relates to something on the show, and that was Tony Khan's #1 best tweet, maybe of all time, at Tony Khan. As we just informed at Swole World on hashtag AEW Dynamite via formal letter, Big Swole has been suspended from AEW for kidnapping Dr. Britt Baker. Wrestlers can't kidnap each other. It goes on, but that's the important part of the tweet. I think Tony gets a lot of shit. He's been getting a lot of shit right before we started this show for his tweets, because he's just out there tweeting about ratings and like why they actually won the ratings.
He's responding to the haters and losers. He's obviously he's listening to too many dumb people.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Responding to them. He's responding to dumb opinions. Why? Why are you listening to dumb people?
Then he did a tweet that was like, basically, this is what the dumb people in my replies say, but this is what they say at other times, which means that he not only reads the replies, but then goes and clicks on those people's accounts and looks at their other tweets, which is fucking insane stuff.
It's just, we'll never understand. If I was a billionaire, I would quit Twitter that day.
I
can't imagine why billionaires post. It blows my mind.
I just imagine that since he can't be flying back and forth to London for Fulham games, he's just really bored. So he's just going off and, breaking the rule of billionaires shouldn't be on Twitter.
Billionaires regularly tweet themselves into actual consequences.
SEC results of half.
Yeah. I mean, J.K. Rowling basically tanked her whole reputation on Twitter just because she loves fucking posting so much. Posting should be reserved for the people going through the doldrums of our daily lives like us.
Yes.
Fucking billionaires, go build your underground bunkers in New Zealand. God damn it.
We post because there's nothing else to do. There's no other way to like survive on a daily basis than by just posting out into the wilderness. All that said, perhaps Tony Khan will never do a better tweet than wrestlers can't kidnap each other. I really enjoyed that.
Can't.
Yeah, it's not allowed. And it's like, it's part of this thing where he sometimes he goes back and forth between responding to the haters and losers and also giving like very dumb kayfabe reasons for why they're doing stuff. It's like, who gives a fuck? But if he's going to do it, if it stays like in this cheesy lane, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to like it.
I can't back you up on this because I think it's really unprofessional that they didn't make this decision until apparently the day of the show. Otherwise, why are they cutting corners and they can't overnight a letter if they're going to inform her by formal letter? This should have been in her hands by the day before at the latest.
Yeah, HR presumably has her phone number.
Yeah. You have to understand, this was a very tough decision. I sat in on that meeting as a member of the AEW Championship Committee, and this went back and forth for hours, but we had to decide that wrestlers cannot kidnap each other. So sadly, like what we really should have done was to like send like a encrypted message to her phone and something like this so she would turn around. But this is how Tony decided to do it. It was by certified letter, and you have to have processes here. You have to have processes. I mean, would we have loved to send a FedEx envelope? Absolutely, but you have to make these snap decisions, and if it's tweeting about how you can't...
You didn't make a snap decision. That's exactly my point. You took all day, and that's why
after all this deliberation, Jack Whitehall is very...
the opposite of a snap decision.
Jack Whitehall is very focused on wrestlers not kidnapping each other.
The opposite of snap.
I mean, if you want recourse, you want to assist Big Swole in her recourse, there are processes to go through. If you want to help represent her in this discourse, Nate, about a grievance about not being contacted in a timely manner.
Yeah, no, they should have done that.
Yeah, they should have. They also they should hashtag reimburse Big Swole for her mileage getting to the show. No doubt.
Well, they should be doing that anyway. Number one.
Yeah. No shit.
They should get mileage in a fucking half.
That's true. Wait a second. Does Big Swole saying she should be reimbursed for this suggest that they do not regularly get reimbursed for mileage?
Probably.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, allegedly, they do get reimbursed for trans, but that was also when they were like flying to and from places and they had hotel room like that. I don't know how it is now, but they were supposed to have been doing that. So maybe, I mean, this is above my purview. I just help out with making championship decisions. So if you want to talk about logistics and reimbursement, that's not my department.
All right, well, let's move on to the things we didn't like from the show. And frankly, there wasn't a lot that I didn't like. I had a hard time coming up with stuff to put on the list. So, Nate, I hope you have a good one.
Yeah, so Frankie Kazarian does this spot and did it on this show where the other guy's on the apron and Frankie's inside the ring, and they both grab the ropes, and Frankie pulls the ropes and it slingshots the guy into the ring, and then he does a cutter to him. And I think that's stupid. I think the slingshot by lightly holding the ropes is just obviously dumb.
I mean, this match was probably my least favorite match on the show.
I liked it because of Colt. Colt was
good in this.
Played a great American television wrestling TV character going through a story in this match, which is, again, what this promotion is supposed to be. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, but yeah, don't like the slingshot on the ropes spot.
Yeah, the slingshot on the rope spot was kind of bad. I've been pretty down on Christopher Daniels for a while, and this was not his most sterling effort here. I thought that the Dark Order side, and especially Colt Cabana, especially after having one of the largest hematomas I've ever seen in my life, that's apparently gross. Legit, that's gross, came in, persevered. He's now on a 2-match winning streak, and we get to see where this whole thing goes. But is it 3 matches now?
No, I did 2 fingers.
Oh, you held up 2. I thought you held up 3.
No, 2 fingers and 1 plastic bindy thing.
Plastic bindy thing. That's what threw me off there.
Doesn't look that similar to his finger, to be honest.
I mean, guys, you got to cut me a break. I'm operating on this state of transcendence and existence. That's kind of hard for me sometimes to understand.
Yeah, I would think the transcendence would make it easier to deal with the rabble-rousers.
I mean, the fat pipes don't always mean that I get 1080p video from y'all, so things can look pretty sketch at times. So.
Here's my take on this.
Yeah, please take it away from as this bit's dying in the grave.
It's just so fucking funny to me, this physical therapist character they have here who's well, you've developed a large hematoma. We're seeing a lot of ecchymosis. It's annoying to me. It's these fucking cops who are I observed a subject walking, which this is, I guess I'm the only one who probably reads a lot of police reports among the 3 of us. But it's the same thing with doctors and cops, and I guess fucking lawyers too, who just they're obsessed with writing things in a way that only they really talk, and it just makes it hard for everybody else to understand it.
Yeah, I'm shoot dumb. You need to explain what those things are to me. Like, I know hematoma is a giant ass bruise just from looking at it. I don't know what that other word means. It sounds like witchcraft to me.
So yeah, I think it's great that AEW is endeavoring to educate us as we watch.
They didn't try to
Public
educate
service.
us.
Sure they did.
They-
Mike learned what a hematoma is from context.
I already knew what it was beforehand.
It's not what you just said. That is not what you just said.
I said I could tell what it was because it was a giant ass bruise. I still don't know I'm still not certain of what a hematoma is.
You just said you already knew what it was.
Okay,
Now you don't know what it is.
Hold on a second. A hematoma is not a fucking bruise, first of all.
It's not, so I'm wrong. So I'm right and I'm wrong.
Yes. A
This is a disaster.
hematoma causes discoloration that can look like a bruise, but it's like bursted blood vessels.
Oh, yikes. That sucks.
Ecchymosis.
One time my friend in college threw up so much that he bursted all the blood vessels in his face and he was bright red for like a week. Also, his eyes were bloodshot.
Yeah. So ecchymosis is bruising.
Oh, so the weird word's the one that I already knew. Okay.
Well, I mean,
I don't think you can say that you already knew it. I think that we've established one thing in the last 5 minutes here.
If we've learned anything tonight, more so than anything, is that the Texas educational system has failed me.
Where are we? I guess Mike, it's your turn to tell us what you want to delete.
It's time for me. Time for me to delete something.
Cook, baby.
You know, I'm cooking, and I know why they felt like they should have had this match, especially after they had to change up the card because of pulling the men's world title match because of COVID concerns with Jon Moxley. But this tag, like, it wasn't that it was a bad tag. Like, there's some sick moves here and like a good dissection, and then like Paige doing this like crazy sit out Liger bomb from the top turnbuckle to the ground was gross. But it just is something that there probably could have been something here that you didn't need to blow off as your hot match to bring people into the show. We know that they like to come in hot, and it just did not like jive with me completely. And it was something that, you know, I'm glad they always bring up the fact that that Private Party defeated the Young Bucks in the first round of the inaugural AEW World Tag Team title tourney, because if we didn't have that constant reminder of, hey, they had this banger match once, then I'd be like, oh, okay. And it's something that actually kind of like puts me like in a little bit of a sour mood, because Private Party, like we can see what they see in them, like when you like see them in matches like that Young Bucks match, but they haven't really done a lot to foster their growth so that they can't just be shoved into position of having an impromptu World Tag Team title match and succeed here. And they just came away underwhelming in a match that we've seen both teams have much better matches. And this match, I kind of came out here just kind of disappointed. And that's something like saying that I'm like disappointed with like a 3.25 star match. But it's just, I have my issues with like how they do talent development, and I feel like that in some ways they somewhat have failed Private Party by not like having them wrestle every week on Dark against teams like SCU, Strong Hearts, and now FTR to kind of help them like train on the job in a way, so that when you thrust these into these situations, that they could actually have a better chance to succeed rather than just get like a completion grade.
Yeah, I feel like nobody's telling Private Party, like anybody around them, how they can like take the next step as a tag team. Like we just kind of see them doing the same stuff in every match they've ever had in AEW. And so it's like for them to really, it's also weird because that was my real concern about the Cody Mark Quinn match. And then Mark Quinn had like a really great performance where they like told a story that made sense. And he was like, you know, just like a classic type of wrestling match, but they never do that in their tag matches. So they're not the Young Bucks. They're not going to be able to do this forever. And they're not going to be able, and the Young Bucks, of course, took that step later on where they were able to kind of incorporate different things.
I think that's the difference, is the Young Bucks had, you know, started touring Japan and working all sorts of different matches up and down the card, and that gave them the wider breadth of experience.
That's a great point. I mean, it's like with Private Party and a lot of people that we're seeing in AEW, they're not going to get that experience. It doesn't look like, maybe we'll see it later, of going to Japan, of, you know, the Bucks were working every shitty indie all over the world, you know, for a long time and seeing a lot of different stuff. And these guys are not getting that experience. I mean, it reminds you, it's not going to be as stilting, I don't think, but it reminds you of some of the people who've been in WWE developmental for like ever, and they just work this like one very specific style, and they never are able to get out of that. So I'm worried that that's going to happen to some of these folks in AEW.
And it's something that with a tag team division that I've grown to actually really like this tag team division over the last like few months, that they could very easily like, and it doesn't even have to make air. It could have very easily say like, all right, so this week we are, or at least before COVID, you could have said, okay, this week we're going to have a private party match versus Natural Nightmares. And you go in there and let them go have 15 minutes there, and you let them develop these reps so they can learn these styles of matches, because they're not going to be likely to go do tours of Japan or go to Mexico or go to Europe. So like you have to have some sort of on-the-job training for people that you want to have as a featured match, and I feel like that they have not offered that to a team so that they could succeed here.
The funny thing is they need a Largo Loop.
Oh, I mean, GCW, they should be sending a private party to GCW like each week or each time they run a show, and be like, hey, this time you're going to be facing Chris Dickinson and the one called Manders, just for example.
Yeah, I agree with all that pretty much. You know, it's I kind of, I guess, didn't have my expectations dashed in this match, because I kind of expected it to look a lot like this. We know that Kenny Omega is going to go out in the first segment and do a blow away match of this type, because that's just what he does on every show. And this is kind of where I expect Private Party to be, where they have a lot of good ideas and we're just not quite putting them all together yet. So yeah, they need to send them on a tour of DDT. Janela's wrestling Yoshihiko. The AEW DDT connections are continuing to multiply. Maki Ito's tagging with Lance Archer now. So, if international travel ever returns, or if we stop being quarantined in our country, send them on a tour of DDT and just get them tons of reps.
Nate, I really didn't enjoy hearing you say if international travel ever returns.
Yeah.
That didn't make me feel good. It made me feel bad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll return for other people, for other countries.
Yeah. I don't know, man. A fucking music festival I always go to in the fall got canceled the other day, and that was the one that was like, oh, yeah, we're not doing anything until at least 2021. And so I'm just...
What festival was that?
It's called the Bristol Rhythm and Roots Festival.
Oh, boy.
A lot of roots music.
Sounds like some Aaron Bentley stuff.
Is it at the Bristol Motor Speedway?
No, it's literally in downtown Bristol.
Man, why is it not the Bristol Motor Speedway?
Because it's cool.
The Bristol Motor Speedway is awesome.
It's a fucking oval, man. No oval racing.
So you're a Bristol Motor Speedway truther, of all people.
I'm an anti-oval racer. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. I'm opposed
to what does Formula One race on? They have windy roads and shit?
Yeah, they do windy roads, but I know for certain Aaron Bentley's background is in NASCAR, is in stock.
Well, some of us, have to grow up.
Personal growth, yeah.
And I did a growth, and
did a yes growth.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but I go to the festival every year. It's like right near where my mother lives. But it's like outdoor festival, all downtown. Like hundreds of thousands of people come to this festival every year. Tons of stages, tons of bands. This year they booked Jason Isbell as the headliner. So it was going to be like a double AJB thing, and it's just fucking canceled, man. Yeah. So it's, so obviously we're not going to like All Out or whatever, that's not happening. And we're not doing anything. So,
I mean, people say, I've a friend of mine tweeted, I think it's really funny that people keep pretending that we're just going to have football in the fall and everybody's just like going along with this. I'm like, you're kind of discounting the very real possibility that we will, and they'll just say, fuck it. 4 million people are going to die, whatever. Like, I understand like it's like insane to do that. But I also kind of think you're underestimating how little the people in, Capitol care.
Well, 2 conferences announced today that they're only doing conference games. They canceled their non-conference schedules.
Yeah, that really fucked Miami up. Miami was supposed to play Michigan State this year.
Yeah, so that's like a lot of college football is basically already going to be canceled. We'll see. I don't know. But even if that happens, even if they play the games, it's like I'm still not traveling anywhere. And I was just talking to Sarah before we recorded of like, work sucks so much. Like it's such a miserable existence, working day after day. And like life generally is pretty miserable.
Well,
and
it's mostly work,
Yeah, exactly. And so this isn't a unique thought, but it's those little things that kind of like allow you to convince yourself that life is worth living,
Right.
That you should continue to the next day.
Yeah. I'm going to Japan next year. Yeah. That's like,
right. I'm getting
a thing to look forward to.
I'm going to see all my friends in Chicago. We're all going to get together for All Out or whatever. And it's like, there's nothing to look forward to. Nothing.
It's mostly, Nintendo Directs. Just look forward to new Nintendo announcements. That's,
the most joy. The most
That's
joy
why you
I
got to
get.
go get into the gaming more.
Yeah, maybe so. Because right now, the most joy I get is like buying something and then like waiting for it to show up and then like going out to my porch to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, F1's back this Sunday.
That was really nice last week watching the race.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. But I would like to go to places, And I know this is like middle class bullshit, of being able to go to places. I understand that, but
sure, but it's like the idea that like we live in a society and a culture that now we're so fixated on certain things because we don't have the other diversions. Like we used to be able to like the phrase like diversioning yourself to death, like be able to like ignore certain things because you have things to look forward to. And now we are in a state now that like honestly like moments of my week I look forward to is like these like set things, and now we don't have those set things. We're finding new set things, or we're just all sitting here just dwelling on the nihilism of human existence.
Yeah, it rules. I mean,
it's very funny.
I mean, sorry to get real there for a second.
No, it's true. I mean, I'm like more depressed than usual lately, for sure.
Yeah, I actually had this for whatever reason. This came to mind when I was well, I can probably think of what the reason was if I give myself a minute. But I was like, the canard that people want to trot out about why they're optimists or whatever. It's like, oh, the arc of the moral universe is long, but bends toward justice or whatever, which may have been true on an infinite timeline, but now it just points to climate apocalypse. It's like, no, because the time's going to run out well before we get to justice, and it's just going to be the billionaires in their underground bunkers, evolving into mole people while everyone else burns to death.
You've really gone in on New Zealand and the bunkers today, bud.
I was thinking of Peter Thiel because he bought his New Zealand citizenship, right. And there was I also saw a listing for like a luxury bunker recently. And we're all sort of living bunker life, so I've got bunkers on the brain, I guess.
So that's what you're using your Patreon money is get yourself a share in a luxury bunker. It sounds like
very, very slowly building up savings for my, pauper's bunker.
Yeah, dude, we're not getting a bunker. Trust me.
No bunker.
It's
gotta
like
figure out how to turn I'm not on the bottom floor here, so I'm really my options for protecting myself here are pretty slim.
Yeah. All right. Well, probably nobody wants to hear about
what
this,
the fuck were we talking about? Anything?
I did my delete of not taking the opening match. We talked about talent development, and then
you said international travel. That's
okay.
Yeah, international travel.
Up,
that's
baby.
how we got there. That's where we were on this like family circus Jeffy ass episode.
Yeah. Look, my delete is I guess Nyla's gonna have a manager. I'm tired of managers. Taz is the only good manager. No more managers. That's it. I just think it's bad.
She doesn't need a manager.
She's great on the mic.
She's good on the stick. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's gonna have a manager, and it seems like people are of the belief it's gonna be Vicky Guerrero, which I don't think that's a net positive there. So
it's really
I think
unnecessary.
It's just something that like I understand like the internal logic of her seeing everyone getting a manager, like Cody getting Arn and then becoming champion, Brian Cage coming in with Taz and is now a champion as well, and I could totally see her logic there, especially after she's one of 4 women on the roster who are actually seem like to be eligible for a title shot. That it seems like this is her way back into the title picture, so like it makes sense, but it sucks.
Yeah, but those people...
it's a fine tool for rehabbing somebody who lost too. Like, hey, I'm making a character change, and that's what's going to make sense for why I start climbing the rankings again. But yeah, we're at critical mass for managers already, and half of them are not, a net positive to the act. And Taz is the one, but his effectiveness, like with a lot of things, is lessened when he's the third one you see on a show.
Right, and it's also that like Taz and Arn Anderson are famously successful wrestlers, so it makes you can put together in your head why their involvement with the wrestler helped them to become more successful. It's like, what is Vicky Guerrero supposed to add to, how is she supposed to help Nyla Rose? And that's hard for me to understand. But anyway, yeah, I just hate it. So that's it. Ratings, AEW down a little in total viewers from 748 to 715. Although they have, if you look at the chart or whatever, the thing.
Yeah, the Show Buzz Daily.
Well, but I mean, if you look at the spreadsheet that you put together or whatever, you look at the trends, they kind of go up and down each week. Like, so this is actually less of a drop than they had been doing recently.
Right.
And they didn't drop at all. They actually went, or they stayed flat, I guess, basically in the demo, which they had been dropping down with the demo too. So it's interesting to me that they maintained their 18 to 49 viewers while dropping some other viewers. I'm not sure what that means. 0.28 in the demo, 7th overall. NXT was also down a little bit in total viewers, 792,000 to 759,000. They dropped all the way to 24th in the demo from 13th, down from a 0.22 to a 0.2.
Yeah, and a couple of takeaways from this, because actually I do have more to talk about than last week. I think that this actually, considering that they've had to pull out of their booked and developed world title match and had to like shuffle around and move, like Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho clearly was going to be like the 9 o'clock hour match. Like, we know how much they love Orange Cassidy being Mr. 9 o'clock, and they had to reformulate this. So losing 33,000 overall viewers and only a 10th in the demo, it's not great. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, this is a win, but all things considered, this isn't anything to turn your back on and stick your nose up about. The thing that's going to be interesting is two things. One, I was having a conversation with Brandon Thurston on Twitter yesterday about this. WWE Raw on Monday nights is going down so fast that last week NXT and AEW combined in P14 to 49, which is the demo, which was higher than Raw last week. So we really are seeing like this acceleration of the idea of, is wrestling going to end up being like a Wednesday night thing? And that might even be like further accelerated with the fact that we kind of talked a little bit about this, but the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball will all be back in some fashion within the next 3 weeks. And they're going to be plastered all over TV. So this is going to be like a moon landing scenario for wrestling shows where they're all going to take a whole lot of hits. And it's going to be interesting to see how they all respond to that. So I know like opening day is now July 26th, I want to say. So I mean, like, it's like 2 or 3 weeks like sports apocalypse happens.
Also, I just have one take, and it's on the Orange Cassidy thing, which is I think people are missing the point entirely of whether Orange Cassidy is a draw. And
what people could you mean, Aaron?
No, this is a lot of people. This is not just Joe Lanza's take. A lot of people have been putting this take out or just missing the point entirely, which is, as Mike talked about, the people who weren't on the show, they dropped the Mox and Cage match, obviously. They inserted Orange Cassidy into the main event. Orange Cassidy into the main event of this show. So the real question is, how much did he maintain the viewers that they would normally get in this spot? Compare him to prior main events and how he did there. Because if they got even anywhere close to a normal main event segment with Orange Cassidy as the other guy, that's a huge win. They've created somebody new who they can drop into a main event, and they do pretty well. I mean, and you look at next week, which we'll talk about later, but they've got, all the stars, everybody up and down the show. So we'll see how those two compare. But I think being able to not fall off a cliff when you throw somebody like Orange Cassidy into the main event is a huge win. All right, let's run down the show. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega retained their tag team championships when they defeated Private Party. Page pinned Cassidy after the last call. I think we've already discussed this match pretty well. We've discussed most of the show, I think, already. That's fine. Lance Archer defeated Joey Janela, blackout through a table on the outside. Archer came out with Sonny Kiss on his shoulders. Sonny was out of it. Sonny got involved a few times during the match. And my take was basically, I agreed with Mike that I wasn't really sure what to expect out of this, but it ended up being a really good match where it's like you just had basically the most the most basic pro wrestling match you could have, where Joey got shine early on, then Lance beat him down for a while, then Joey had a comeback, then Lance cut him off and won the match. That's pro wrestling, baby, and it was done very well. There was a Darby Allen video next. He said, "It's been about a month since I've been out of the ring." Reminds Brian Cage that he hasn't forgotten about him. And then we see him practicing coffin drops with Travis Pastrana, and he drops off some huge thing into some cushy blocks.
It looks like Travis Pastrana has a pretty sick layout. Like, if you want to like try out flips, or I know that he did motocross and doing like tricks into the foam blocks, that seems like that would be a good time. I did see that Darby did tweet that he's visiting Bam Margera next week, or like there was a photo about him at Castle Bam or whatever it's called now. So he's really visiting a lot of the early 2000s like alt sports culture lately. So yeah.
Brian Cage came out next with Taz. Tony Schiavone was in the ring interviewing them. I'm not sure why I said that way. Taz said he's glad Tony's here because Tony's been a part of so many iconic moments. This is going to be another one. He reminds us that Moxley was supposed to defend his title against Cage on this show, but it's going to happen next week. And he's holding something in a bag. He says, "What's in my hands now is something I created decades ago, something that is my full body of work, created with my blood, sweat, and tears. What's in my hands is the FTW World Championship. No promotion has ever recognized it, but wrestling fans worldwide recognize the respect of the man who holds it, because the man who holds it is the baddest son of a bitch in wrestling. And that man is not going in to fight for the fall without a championship, because Brian Cage is the FTW World Champion." He hands Brian Cage the belt, and he says, "What you're looking at is some renegade shit." He drops shit, I think, twice in 2 sentences. And he says, "Mox, your ass is done. Who better than the Machine?"
Yeah, kicks ass. Title belts that aren't necessarily tied to one promotion, or title belts that outlive promotions, are just one of the more fun, cool things in wrestling. Taz, obviously, great promo. Bringing the lineage of the FTW title is a good way to give just Cage a little more juice. And it also, it's an appropriate callback considering the circumstances of how the FTW title was first introduced. I will say we kind of need to see some more like FTW energy from Cage. Like, he doesn't have that sort of chip on his shoulder to this point that Taz sort of did, where it was like, "No, fuck you, fuck the world, whatever. I have something to prove and I'm aggrieved and mad about it." We just don't have that coming from Cage quite yet. Maybe he hasn't gotten the opportunity to show it and show that part of his character, but I think that needs to develop. And yeah, this is very, I wasn't going to shout out Outcamp, but now I did. He mentioned in the chat that, now they have to protect the FTW title because they just introduced it. And it's, it was a compelling segment, and I think it's just a compelling thing to keep our eye on. Moxley's lost some momentum, through no fault of his own. Really, they were keeping him pretty strong and giving him wins and featuring him. But then, of course, COVID interceded. The point being, I think you got to go with the hot hand. I think Brian Cage should beat Moxley, take the AEW title. It's not like it's going to be hurting at the gate or hurting, on the ratings or hurting live reactions or anything, because all those things are out of the window. And it just elevates a new guy to that next level and gives him a fresh young face, which will maybe remove some of those concerns that people have about, trading on old WWE names and trading on nostalgia all the time. I think, it's a opportunity right now to maximize the potential of Brian Cage pretty quickly. And I don't see any downsides to doing it. I think Cage should win the belt.
And it's something that if you make that change, which I don't know if I'm fully on board with that, Nate, I'm still kind of ruminating on it. if you do that change, you could always have the rematch where Mox wins the title back whenever there's live crowds, and build it as like his pursuit again, because it does seem that like his pursuit of Jericho became such like a strong thing on the first half of this year leading up to Revolution, that like since then, again, no fault of his own, he's felt like he's cooled off as champion, and maybe his best position is being the person who's in like forever pursuit. And let's see with Cage. I do think that there's something to do with the FTW title. I mean, didn't Taz end up winning the ECW title as FTW champion, and he still like came out with the belt and was like, oh no, my FTW belt is not on the line? And ECW,
I think he just unified them. I don't know.
did he?
So the first time he dropped it, he was being set up to win the ECW title. So he pulled Taz on top of him, or pulled Sabu on top of him, and basically forfeited the belt to Sabu. And then when he won it back and won the ECW title, at that point, he unified.
Okay. But like, you have a lot of different ways to go with Cage, whereas with Moxley, as we've seen, especially seeing like probably his best like opponent is out of the country in Pac. Like Pac versus Moxley probably is like your big world title match, unless you're going to do Pac versus Fenix. You might want to see how this is. Like you've talked me into this, Nate.
I'm firmly on the other side of this equation. I mean,